big dreamers. And so in a lot of ways, this adventure is super fitting for us. But doing it in your mid-50s was a little bit of a surprise. Hey everybody, my name's Chris.
And I'm Linda.
Welcome to the Chris and Linda Show. It's going to be awesome.
Yes, I'm pretty excited.
We have a lot to talk about. Some of you know us as speakers. We're doing that right now. We're speaking. Some of you know me as, well, a model and an athlete.
Yeah.
But together, we are a force of nature. Chris and Linda.
I think so. I think we can be quite the force of nature. So we're on this new adventure here in lots of different ways. So we have done podcasts in the past, but this one I think is I'm excited about this because we want to share in real time our experience with this whole new phase of life that we are in our mid-50s. And so we are in our second act of our life.
Right. So in terms of midlife crises, we're not buying Harleys, although that would be awesome. And driving around the country, we're not getting them. So, my dog's got fleas, apparently. But what we did do was something that we're super excited about and want to share with you. This second act entrepreneur idea is really something I think that Linda coined and that we have been noticing. We're big dreamers. And so in a lot of ways, this adventure is super fitting for us. But doing it in your mid-50s was a little bit of a surprise.
So here we are. Those of you who can see this podcast, we are sitting in our bookstore. This is something that has been a lifelong dream of Chris forever and ever. And here we are sitting in an actual brick and mortar used bookstore that really in some ways our brains thought, what are we doing? This is kind of crazy in this time and day and age that we open a bookstore. But in other ways, it was so fitting for us to do this. And it's been a very scary adventure, but we want to share some of that adventure and where we're going from there, I guess, really. That's kind of what we want to do with this podcast.
So one of the main points in the talks that we do when we speak to couples who are getting married is we talk about the idea of dreaming together. This idea actually really kind of solidified after listening to a talk by a guy named Matthew Kelly, and many of you are familiar with him. In his book, 7 Levels of Intimacy, he talked about dreaming together as a couple, and we had been doing that for most of our marriage without realizing just how beautiful that could be in terms of like later in life. It kind of had become a habit for us. Mm-hmm. And as we started adventuring towards this Letter and Leaf bookstore, that's the name of the bookstore, the Letter and Leaf, we realized, wait a minute, this is exactly what we do. And so, I mean, honestly, it's been a fun and terrifying and amazing, brain-stretching experience. And so we're going to just kind of run through a little bit of the timeline. In the background, you're going to see and hear all sorts of things.
So not only are we in a bookstore that actually is open, so at any given moment somebody could walk through the door, but we have an English bulldog who is the mascot for the bookstore. Her name is Agatha Christie, and she's a pig. Listen, I don't know if these microphones are picking this up, but she is.
She's disgusting.
She's disgusting.
And she's noisy. So this is Agatha. And Agatha is supposed to be quiet, but she just took and drank a bunch of water and is now...
So far she's been scratching and chewing and drinking.
Chewing on the base
like
of
all
this.
Of those noises that first of all are like nails on a chalkboard to begin with. And now here we're trying to be professional. We're trying to make this look good and sound good, and she's being really annoying. So
she's like, wait a minute. Professional, I'll give you professional.
But I think this is really the story of our life. So I think we should start a little bit of who are we, right?
Okay.
We've been married for 35 years, right? We keep forgetting how long we've been married. Okay, so we've been married for 35 years, and we were high school sweethearts. We met in high school because Chris was Mr. Unique Personality, and I had to meet who this person was. And it just started this really this love affair that we've had for all these years. We are each other's best friends. We love uh, doing things together, being together, and this is how the life that we have spent. So we have.
Well, really, I mean, I think out of the gate when we were young kids, just coming out of high school, going to college, I really had this. Both of us had this pretty intense kind of conversion of doing things one way and then doing things a different way. And we decided let's spend the rest of our life doing things this new way. And for me, that would look like, traveling around the country and speaking about faith. And so we did, and we did that. And so I think we knew right from the beginning that things were going to be a little bit weird and that it was going to be, not a typical 9-to-5 job. And we always kind of pushed away from that anyways, just because of the way that I am and the way that our dreams kind of seem to come to fruition. But as we got older, what we realized is that things don't always stay exactly the same.
Wow, right? In our world today, things have changed so quickly, and I think we have found that we've had a hard time keeping up with those changes, while at the same time, we've also enjoyed making a lot of changes. So for 30-some years, we have been doing full-time ministry. That's how we've lived. Chris traveling, writing books, doing music, all of that kind of stuff for all these years. But then somewhere along the way, we have done crazy things. I think people think that we've done crazy things. Like we moved from Ohio to New York because we wanted to start a homestead. And we did. We started this homestead for 10 years. We put lots of animals in the freezer. But that was a dream that we wanted to do. And we did that. But now we feel like it's time to move on from that. And so here we are. And we know we're in the second act of our life, and we have different visions, different dreams. Starting a business was not, even though I think maybe you'd say that having a bookstore was always a dream for you,
yeah,
right? But being a business owner?
Well, this was the great dilemma. How do you run a business that requires, the typical 9-to-5 or longer, regularity, and you're traveling in planes all over the world? It just wouldn't work, And so I had numerous conversations with folks, some business people, who even suggested, well, just start the bookstore and then just hire personnel for it. But I thought, I don't think you understand. Yes, I'm going to need staff and I'm going to need people to help that dream come true. But this is my great love, books. I mean, books have changed my life. It's changed the direction of my life. It's changed my ideology and my theology. It's brought great joy and happiness. If I could have married books in my teens, I would have considered it. Anywho, I think the long and the short of it is simply when we decided to go after whatever adventure we were on, we put everything we had into it. And because the time and the way that things were happening since the pandemic, there was not the regularity of me traveling like I normally did. Suddenly, right here on Main Street in a little itty-bitty town called Camden, New York, I kept passing this building that, almost called to me and said, you actually probably have some time. What if you went after that dream?
Yeah, and so there's a lot of learning curve here for us. We are not business people. But I think that...
Well, we are now.
We are now, right? We are now, but we have so much to learn. And I think that's what we want to do with this podcast, is to share that journey. Share what we've learned along the way, what we are learning right now, and hopefully inspire in you this entrepreneurial spirit that says, you're never too late. Never too late to start something new. Never too late to go in a different direction, right? I'm sure there's some really famous quotes that can be mentioned about that. Something, is this C.S. Lewis?
No, I think it was Linda. You're never too late to go in a different direction.
Is that Linda Paget? Okay. Yeah. I think it was C.S. Lewis. You're never too late to dream a new dream, or something like that.
I think it's good. That or Disney.
Or Disney, yeah.
Dreams,
your heart When you're fast asleep.
I don't think that's copywritten. I don't think we can do that. When I look out the window here, I'll try to do something. And we'd like to thank Duncan for considering our sponsorship. When I think about where we are, we're right here on Main Street in Camden. This building used to be a shoe store. And the other day, the previous owner came in. And there she is now. Nope, that's our dog. And she came in and we chatted a little bit, and I just thought, here's a lady. Hey, what are you doing?
I mean,
come here.
They probably can't even hear it, but it's.
I mean, she's behind the desk.
She's scratching at a desk. You're naughty.
Anyway, she came in here the other day, and we just were chatting, and I thought to myself, here's a lady who they bought this building in the late 70s, and for decades they were a presence and a force in this town. And then he passed away. And so for her walking in here, it was very nostalgic. There were all sorts of powerful memories, and I think she was moved that here's a store that my husband would have loved, because he was super into history, and he worked and helped the town in a variety of ways. And so she said, you know what I'm going to do? I want to give you the awning that goes for the store. Now, I've been already looking at how do I get an awning, one of those cute little awnings that hang over the storefront so that it offers shade, but it also, kind of pops when people are driving by. And it was almost like she said, you know what? I see you, and I see this dream, and I see myself, and I want to support it. And what we've realized along the way, even though this is our second act entrepreneurial journey, that people want to know what we're doing. They want to get on board. They want to be excited, sharing that dream, and participate. And so our hope is, I think, with this is we're just going to share, and it's going to be raw, and it's going to be typical, kind of crazy, pageant, vulnerable, messy. But my hope is that you'll be encouraged to maybe step out and try your dream, because you could at least at the end say, if Chris can do this,
I think
anyone can do it.
Right, but I think that kind of mentality is what has spurred us on. Is since we started looking in this direction of opening business, is more than one business, starting with the bookstore, and that's something that we'll unpack in this podcast, is how this is expanding, where this is going in our dream wise anyway. But we've been inspired by looking at other people like this lady you were talking about, right? It was years and decades ago, but this idea of, I'm going to take this step and I'm going to do something radical, like buy a business, buy a building and start a business. We look at the way I look at businesses these days is through a different lens, because I'm thinking, wow, here's that insurance company. They did that. They took the step to start this business. Or, I wonder how that grocery store got started. It probably started with somebody who took the challenge of selling groceries in a small building, and it has expanded into this franchise, that. So I'm thinking differently about businesses, and realizing with that we have a motto that we've had for years and years and years, and it comes from this the movie The Edge. Do you guys remember that, with Anthony Hopkins and Alec Baldwin? They're in the middle of the Alaskan wilderness being chased by this Kodiak bear. And our favorite quote from that movie, and we actually have a plaque hanging in our kitchen that says it, and it's this: what one man can do, another can do. What one man can do, another can do. It's this idea that if they can do that, then we can do that. That there are other bookstore franchises, and even used bookstore franchises, that we have frequented for years, that we love. And it's thinking, we started thinking, gosh, if they can do it, why can't we do it? Why can't the Letter and Leaf, which is the name of the bookstore, I don't think we've mentioned that, why can't the Letter and Leaf do that? Why can't we become a movement, something that draws people back to a simpler time of life, away from our screens, away from isolation that we have become as a society, and bring us back to community, which this bookstore promotes community health in this small village here, and bring us back to tangible, actual things, an actual book that you touch and hold and smell. You walk into the store, and so many people have said it. Oh, it smells like a bookstore. Because, old musty books, right? It smells like a bookstore.
No, musty.
Books can smell musty. Right? But it's the body, the living, the actual touching feeling of life. And it's a simpler way of living, a simpler life. Like, we want to bring that. We want people to experience that when they come here, and we want to expand that so that others can experience that. And what one man can do, another can do. So
absolutely.
that is, I think, what we're thinking on this, right?
Yeah.
We're going to go for it.
I mean, in some ways, if I look back, I never would have imagined that it would have come true. And I think that's really an encouragement for all of us, is that sometimes you're given dreams and ideas of something that you want to do, and you think about it and you dream about it so long, and that's where it lives. It just lives in your thoughts. It never comes to fruition. And I wonder sometimes, what is the middle ground? What is that motivation that would take you from, the dream to actually doing it? And look, I still speak all over the world. That's what I do for a living. I don't get paid from working here at the bookstore. Hopefully one day I will, but
Hopefully.
Hopefully we'll make enough money to pay, what we've put into it. But the simple truth is that, I felt like in some ways I could spend the rest of my life dreaming about owning a bookstore. And suddenly the circumstances allowed for me to take a step. And I just want to ask you the question, in your mind, what does it look like to go from the dream to the actual like practical boots on the ground application of that dream, and making it, come from your imagination into practicality? I would say, for me, on a very personal level, the idea of calling up the guy who owned the building and saying, here's what I'm thinking, what kind of deal could you do for me on rent? Even with all of that, and having more and more information about the building and how much it would potentially cost me and what kind of expenses, there's so much about that was unknown. Can I generate enough money coming in to pay the bills? And what about when I have to travel? That means I have to hire somebody. And what kind of point of sale system am I even going to use? And what are my options? I mean, we're so lucky in a lot of ways today to be able to access the internet and find out what can we use, and talk to other business owners. But what I realized is that the more information I got, the more huge the mountain of trying to make that dream come true looked. And a lot of people stop, I think, moving forward with their dream because that mountain grows bigger and bigger. But Linda said something to me. It's Linda, right? She said something to me that I thought was phenomenal. She said basically that with God, we will not fail. And I also realized there was the other part of this, which was I can only focus on today, and only today. Now I have 30 days to make enough money to pay the bills for this store. So let's minimize our expenses. We're going to do what we can do, and if one day doesn't work, 2 days don't work, that's okay. There's still 28 or 20-something left to go. And I feel like that mentality was really helpful for me to go from a dream into the application of that dream.
Right, and I think that's the other piece that's worth mentioning, is that Chris and I we're Catholic, and so our faith is a big part of our life. We did 30 plus years of ministry, full-time ministry. So it's going to come out. It's just a part of who we are. It's going to come out in the way we talk. It's going to come out in the things that we share. But that faith piece is an important part of this whole journey also. Like you said, it's not like with God we cannot fail. That is not like a health and wealth kind of message. That's not like we're positive believing this to be true. But we just know that when we are sincerely asking the Lord to lead us, and when He is leading us into something that seems scary, that He's never going to allow us to fail. We're not going to completely falter and just, I don't know, be a mess, that we're going to be okay whatever happens with all of this, and that so again, that's not like this positive thing like we're going to become multimillionaires, which would be awesome, but this is okay. This is a good thing no matter what the results is. This is still a good thing for ourselves, for our own journey, and your lesson of your lesson of living in today. Hello, that's everybody needs to learn how to do that. We all need to learn in every area of our life how to live for today, because otherwise you're living in anxiety and fear and worry about the future, or you are thinking and dreading or regretfulness about the past. It's I don't know. It's
right.
Yeah.
But it is and has been an amazing adventure. And I think after a year, it's been about a year and a half now, when we look back on it, I'm in shock. I cannot believe it. Whenever people come into the store, I always say, and this is true, by the way, Linda came to me and she said, I need you to figure out what you're going to do with all these books. I don't want to deal with them when you die. And I was like, well, I wasn't planning on dying, but I get what you're saying.
Because we have
all of these. Well, I mean, they're all mine, obviously, but I mean,
but at our house we have probably still close to 20,000 books in our house,
at least.
So I didn't want to have to box those up in the 50 years from now that Chris dies.
Thanks. She's
Positive
planning
thinking.
it. She's planning.
50 years, you'd be over 100 years old, I think.
Okay. Wow, but still, though, I make it to 106. We're super pumped, and Linda's like, "It's your time." Okay, so she's eaten already a coffee stirrer, and now she grabbed a colored pencil.
Okay, we have a lot of kids also, and so any of you who have kids know that as soon as you turn your back away from the kids, as soon as you get preoccupied doing something important, they get into mischief, right?
Agatha, quit it.
So this is what she's done. She's being a naughty little child.
Grab that stupid dog. And I really do believe that intellectually she is challenged. I mean, like, is she just looking at me like, what? Like, what? Why did you just take my chew toy? I'll tell you why. Because, lead-based...
There's no lead back, no, honey.
There's no more lead?
Well, first of all, this is a colored pencil, but they don't put lead in.
They don't have blue lead?
Yeah.
Moving on.
It's graphite, I think, right?
I don't know. I didn't go into the colored pencil business. Okay, so let's talk about the letter and leaf. So one day, Linda and I were sitting and we were talking a little bit about the Renaissance Fair. We were
getting
nerds.
ready to go to the Renaissance Fair.
Yeah.
I mean, we were both dressed. I had my cute little outfit on, and Chris kind of looked like a wannabe hobbit,
True.
You were trying.
I was trying.
You were trying. So we were sitting there waiting for the kids to get finished getting ready so we could go to the Renaissance Fair.
And I think what happened was I wanted to see, is there a way that we could open up a booth? Both Linda and I love our kind of in-person, booth experiences that we've had. We've been doing that since the mid-'90s, going to all of these conferences and interacting with people who've become friends over the decades and selling the books that we've written and the CDs or the music that we've created, etc. And we love that. I mean, that's been a huge part of our life. And we thought, we'd love going to these Renaissance fairs. What if we figured out a way to make something that could be sold there? So what do we do? What do we have? Well, Linda's a certified herbalist, and so she loves making things like candles and tinctures, and she's famous for her chapstick, and there's room sprays and all of that good stuff. And I thought, well, I love everything to do with books, so maybe I could open up like a used bookstore. But then I realized, well, you can't. You have to make it. It's an artisan.
Yeah. So it had to be like bookbinding.
What could happen
paper.
during that time? What could you make? So I love the idea of making paper. I love homemade paper. So I started looking into that. What if I made a bunch of paper? What if we made pencils? And I would have known something about
Make pencils.
Well, you've ever seen anyway, moving on. So the simple truth is that I started planning to make paper, and I figured out how I could even do that here at the store. And I was thinking I could probably have lines of string going on, and I could hang the sheets of paper, and that would be kind of cool. We could have a whole infrastructure. And so Linda went and started doing it, right? She started making stuff, and then we thought, well, what if we called it? What would we call it?
Yeah, that was what we were
so-
trying to figure out, was like, if we had a booth at the Renaissance Fair, what would we call
the
it?
name be?
That
Yeah.
would be, because this is an important point that we make with dreaming together, is that it's dreaming together. It's your dreams, both of your dreams, even though
Yeah.
they don't have to be exactly the same. But how can you fit them together so that you have this common goal in your marriage? And so we're like, what could we name it? And right.
So we thought, I'm just in my brain, it was like, well, like the letter, like letters for a book, and the letter and leaf, and I thought the leaf, like Linda's certified herbal work, so the letter and leaf, that kind of works, because also there's the leaf in a book, and and we just knew, like,
That was
that's
it.
it. And so we started searching, is this in existence? What can we do? And we thought, let's go. So what about graphics? And that was its own world of crazy. And so we got our daughter, Hannah, who's a pretty good influencer, graphic expert, marketer. She does all of that kind of stuff with social media. And so she said, well, let's look and see if we can find something. And we said, here's our vision. We want, and are picturing this old English kind of pub sign, like you could see C.S. Lewis, Tolkien walking into this pub, and that's the vibe. So she dug around and she found some stuff. She's like, what about this? And it had a frog with a pipe, and I'm like, that would be awesome. And Linda's like, well, no, because everybody will think
we live in New York. If you see smoke coming out of something, what are you thinking they're smoking?
Right. So anyway, we made we made the frog pipeless, and suddenly we were off and running.
Yep.
So in a weird, funny way, this dream took a lot of different steps, and we saw a lot of different obstacles. But what was kind of cool was that we realized, especially because we're older, hey, wait a minute, we do know what to do in this situation. We do have someone that can offer some insights in that scenario. Wait a minute, I think that we're capable and able of doing this particular thing. And step after step after step, things started opening up, and we thought, why not? Let's take the big jump. So we got ourselves into a 3-year lease. We started creating tons of products and moving all of the books that we could over into the store. I remember thinking, I don't know if I'm going to be able to fill the store with, do I have enough books? And let me tell you.
I mean, again, if you can see
have enough books.
This pile, this is the coffee table that is filled with books that you're still processing.
Then
right?
I'll go through those.
Yeah.
I brought over about 4 more boxes. Today, there's probably 100 boxes. Actually, there's more. Then there's a whole house that's got books in there. Like, in other words, now we're at the point of we're going to have to open another store.
We need to expand. So, right. This is initially it was, Chris, you need to do something with these books. I don't want to deal with them when you die. Which my thought was, if you put them into a bookstore, then I could sell the store, if whatever, right? If something tragically happened. But like I said, we still have that many books in our house. You would never know that he opened a bookstore by walking into our house. It looks the same. I know. And he's only continues to collect more and more. So his addiction of buying books, which he's not buying as many books, but he's collecting way more books. And
people are offering. I'm not saying no.
Right. But you've also found that you like this idea of selling too. So that's a cool thing. That was a shift in this addiction for you, was going from hoarding to selling. Like it gives you it's a high for you to figure out what someone's going to buy.
Well, we'll talk about that in a future episode, but the simple truth is I do think that opening the store actually had some very virtuous qualities and ramifications for me. So
good.
it was kind of awesome. Anyway, I think all we want to do is just encourage you. If we can do it, you can do it. What one man can do, another can do.
Yeah.
And so our big encouragement for you is just go ahead, take the step. And yes, it's going to look like Mount Everest after you start realizing this and this and this. But I do think that the worst that can happen is you fail.
You fail.
So what? And most every single business person that I've met has had a variety of different failures, but they learned from it. They decided, wait a minute, if we do this and we do this, then it can happen. Do your best, the best that you can do at that time, and the recognition later, like how did we do it, is definitely going to be a thing. So come visit us if you're in Camden. I will say that if you want to read a little bit more about this Second Act Entrepreneur, we have a Substack account. If you go to Substack and you type in Chris and Linda Paget, twice a week, on every Monday and every Friday, there is a article that goes out, and we talk about all sorts of different things on the entrepreneurial journey. Thanks for joining us at the Chris and Linda Show, and we will see you again soon.